Good evening. Would you stand with me for the invocation and pledge of allegiance, please? With us this evening is Mr. Ryan Romine. He's going to give the invocation.
Almighty God, our Heavenly Father, send down on those who hold public office here in Vienna, these councilmen and women, the spirit of wisdom, charity, and justice, that with steadfast purpose they may faithfully serve in their offices to promote the well-being of all people. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are you any kin to Roger Romine?
If he's a good man, yes.
Well, it's questionable. No, he's a great guy.
I'd like to call to order this regular session of the Vienna City Council for March the 11th, 2021. Let the record reflect that I've taken roll. We'll back up a moment. Before we start with the roll call and the treasurer's report, we'll go to the public forum. We have one person that signed up this evening, so Brenda Powell.
I hope so. Let's see. Hello? It's working great. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. It's Brenda Powell, 1409 31st Street in Vienna. Glad to be here this evening. And I just have a few things that I wanted to put before council. You have to forgive me with the mask. It makes it hard sometimes to speak. I was actually looking down at on the agenda regarding some more things being put in the park for exercise, CrossFit things. I did mention yesterday, and I'd like to mention it before council. That's something maybe you might want to think about. I mentioned it on social media before and got some response from it, but I want to bring it to you. Basically, I have thought about the, it's actually, I call it a warehouse, but I think it was something else out there on Rosemar Road there. And I thought to myself, that would be perfect for a sports complex, an indoor sports complex. It doesn't, I don't know how much they're or what they're asking for the property, but it's a very huge place. And I thought how much potential that would be had there as far as a skating rink, a ice rink. There could be basketball, pickleball. There could be all kinds of things in that facility to be able to give kids something to do. Because mostly what we have is all summer activities. And then we come to the winter months and there isn't anything. So I wanted to bring that forward, and I thought maybe it could be an MOV sports center to where that it's not only Vienna, but it's Williamstown and Parkersburg, and join our communities together. That was my thought on it. So I wanted to bring that forward and just put it a little bug in your ear and see if it might be something that you'd want to look into and maybe see that you'd want to do. Another thing that I want to talk about was actually Councilman Leach brought up about a economic development director, I should say. And I know that position was created for an individual, and that's fine, but I got to looking at the qualifications of actually what that person is supposed to have to hold that position and be effective. And I'm not quite sure that individual had that. And I just have a concern with the fact of paying the money that it would cost for an economic director, development director, how much it would cost yearly for that position. I instead think this, and I'd like to share it with you. And that is the fact that we have lots of issues. We have the Wood County Economic Development Director down in Parkersburg that would do an outstanding job to help us with whatever we needed, I'm sure. But I feel that we have a lot of things that we are dealing with here within Vienna. For instance, before I came here this evening at the 5 o'clock news, there were 4 people that were arrested in a drug bust. My issue is something needs to be done. It's time for the communities to come together. What's going on in Parkersburg is not just Parkersburg's problem. It's communities clear up through. Whether it clear to Williamstown, it might even go over to Marietta, who knows. But it's affecting all of the communities. I feel like that we need to focus on possibly what Parkersburg is doing in an outreach coordinator, to where that we can have somebody here in our community that can help with the drug problem as an outreach, situation for the drugs, the homelessness. We are dealing with all of these issues. So I suggest that maybe we could do that instead and put that money towards something that would help our community and the people that it affects. The other thing is maybe, just maybe, Williamstown, Vienna, and Parkersburg need to go before the county commissioners. I think it's time possibly to go to them and to check with them to see what can be done, and the fact of making stricter guidelines. If people are coming here for drug rehab and we're going to help them, that they need to really focus on them getting through it, and if they can't get through it, they drop out of it, something needs to be done. Because our resources are great and available to everybody, but we have to realize that we want to keep those to people that are going to be dedicated to change and want things to be better. So that was just another suggestion I had. And I'm sorry to take up very much of your time, but it's something I thought that, maybe needed to be said with both items. So thank you so much.
Let the record reflect that all members of council, with the exception of Councilman Leach, are present this evening. Having a quorum, we will proceed. The reconciliation of funds dated March the 5th, 2021 have been printed, posted, and circulated. As you'll note, there is some additional information in the bottom highlighted area, and there are also some additional fiduciary trust funds listed on this report now. So it has been expanded. If you have any questions or anything relating to that, you can go back and see Mr. Leach or Mrs. Roberts in the Finance Department.
Excuse me, Mayor. I do have a question right now about that. This has been revised, and the stormwater fund has been taken out of the proprietary enterprise fund and put up with special revenues, which of course is capital reserves and the coal severance, et cetera. So my question is, I guess I don't understand that, since the stormwater fund is all part of the VUB, water, sewer, and stormwater, why it's been taken out of the proprietary and then put into special revenues?
Okay, so the enterprise fund is water and sewer only, and the general fund is where stormwater is actually funded from. We do collect a stormwater fee, but it is not part of the enterprise funds. Water and sewer stand on their own, and so that is the reason why.
Okay, because no, I really don't understand, because the VUB appropriates the money from water, sewer, and stormwater. That's what the ordinance says, and so that's why I'm confused why that was taken out of the proprietary. The way this looks to me, if I was to look at this, I would think that the stormwater.
The state does not consider it a proprietary fund.
Okay.
The only funds that the state considers is water and sewer. A few years ago, they actually moved it out, for audit purposes. They moved it out of that area. because it's not based on rates.
Uh-huh.
It's not, rates do not fund it. They don't consider it that same type of fund.
Okay, so, but when it's put in with special revenue, it seems that as if that's something that this council appropriates, but that's not the case?
Well, I mean, this council does appropriate those funds. I mean, general fund contributes to it along with the citizens are charged a fee.
Right, but,
If the council wanted to take control of the stormwater program, it could be like Parkersburg. Parkersburg Street Department takes care of the stormwater program in Parkersburg. It's just when the ordinance was established, we don't have a lot of people that can do the stormwater work, so it was just put in part with the Public Works Department.
okay,
And so that's the reason why it was done that way. It was the most efficient way that we, as a city our size, could manage it. So, that's just the way it's been since the stormwater ordinance was initiated, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, whatever it's been, 8 years ago.
State doesn't care about our categories, our ordinance can categorize it how we want, but for purposes of tracking other state funds, it has to go with their categories.
okay. So, if we use money out of the stormwater fund to pay for something with Pond Red, for example, that appropriation would come from the Vienna Utility Board or from this council?
As it's set up now, it would come from the utility board,
Okay,
because that's the way, they manage all of the stormwater activities, but that's just the way it's been set up.
yeah, I just wanted clarification so I'm understanding exactly.
It's just the way it's been set up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I need to go back one more item. The minutes from the council meeting held on February the 25th, 2021 have been printed, posted, and circulated. Are there any corrections to the minutes?
I have a correction to the minutes. Number 19, that was concerning your approval, Mayor, to the utility board, and it said Mayor Rapp recused himself from the vote. I think when you say recuse, that, well, I know, it has a specific meaning, which means that, you remove yourself, you don't participate in the debate, and that it's recorded in the minutes why you removed yourself. Just for clarification, I think that it should say that you abstain from the vote, just because somebody can go back at this later, and it has a very specific meaning, recusal, and that's not really what it reflects what happened. I know you didn't vote for yourself, and that's fine. It just should say, it should just be amended to say you abstained.
I don't know what the minutes said, so
Yeah.
if you'll check the record and see if that's the way it was done.
Mhm.
I personally could care less. I just didn't want to vote.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah, that's fine.
So, all right, then we'll amend the minutes and we'll bring it back for approval at the next meeting then.
Okay.
Thank
good.
you.
Well, hold on. Technically, if you're gonna amend the minutes for proceeding, then it has to be, it would have to be, the vote, you'd have to have a vote on it. So somebody's gonna have to move, second it, and
Okay.
vote to approve the amendment.
Okay.
And we haven't done it very often, so.
Okay. So do you want to move? Or you
So-
moving to?
Okay, I move that the minutes be amended to read Mayor Randy Rapp abstained from voting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, amendment's accepted, all right?
Perfect.
Now, do you want us to approve the minutes as amended?
No, yes, please.
All right.
Problem solved.
So you've heard the amendment, changing the language from recusing to abstaining. Is there any further discussion? Then I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve the amended minutes. Is there, all those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, minutes are amended. First item on our agenda this evening is unfinished business. We have on second reading an ordinance amending 1325.03. Mr. Skogstad, if you will read that by title, please.
An ordinance amending 132503 District 1 area and yard regulations to require a minimum of 900 square feet of habitable space on ground level set upon a permanent foundation. 132906 multiple dwellings and apartment houses to require a minimum of 900 square feet of habitable space on ground level set upon a permanent foundation. 132207 R3 single family and two family residential district with conditional uses to regulate the conversion, and again, I need to fix that spelling, of single-family dwellings to duplex usage, amending the definition of dwelling unit as set out in 137103 of the subdivision regulations.
I'll entertain a motion on second reading for the approval of the ordinance, amending the codified ordinance as presented.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve on second reading the ordinance amending the codified ordinance. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor on second reading of the ordinance amending the codified ordinance, starting with 1325.03, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Moving on to new business this evening. With us this evening is Mr. Mark Schwendeman. Mark, I'm not really sure what your title is. I'm going to call you the president of the Schwendeman Agency. But Mark has been our insurance representative for a number of years, and so if you would give us the review, please.
Certainly. I'm going to hand out some packets, if that's okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
I just been tonight Brad Widener, one of our account executives for the City of Vienna's program. Let me get over here with the microphone. Is it okay if I move this and put the,
You can put it wherever you want.
okay, and then I'll just put,
Do you need a handheld mic, Mark?
no, I think it'll be fine. I'll
Okay.
just put it
All right.
so folks can see it up here perhaps. I'll move what's over here and I'll put this down. So as we get started, let me just give you just a little bit of Schwendeman Agency information. Our firm's been around for quite some time. This is our 92nd year in business, so we do all types of insurance and benefits, financial planning, but the core competency with our work is employee benefits, largely in part health insurance for companies, municipalities, county governments. We actually work with over 300 employers, so we're very fortunate to have, and that might be a little difficult to see as well. So I'll describe what we have here in front of us.
Mark, you can blow that up if you move the gray knob on the end.
This one?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. So what I'd like to do is walk us through just kind of a synopsis. We work with most every health insurance carrier and third-party administrator for financing health insurance benefits. In Ohio and West Virginia, we have offices in Marietta and in Parkersburg. The purpose for this evening is to give an update on the renewal information for the health insurance effective July 1, 2021, and then the marketplace results that we received from that. So I'll walk us through some of the commentary. We work off of a total compensation model, essentially meaning that we suggest employers look at salary and benefits for health insurance, retirement plans, and what have you, and take that into full consideration for their plan participants and employees. One of the things that we often recognize is that with those three components, they're interrelated. Really should not be viewed in isolation because, for example, increasing deductibles on health insurance or contributions on health insurance obviously affects take-home pay based on salaries and what have you, and affects retirement plan compensation. Put together an example, increasing the health insurance cost out of pocket of $1,000 for someone earning roughly $17 per hour is really a decrease in take-home pay of about 3.5%. So we counsel our employers that we work with to be mindful of that, to make sure that they're recognizing that the changes made just to benefits affects overall take-home pay and money for various other things. Health insurance, your current plan is with Highmark Blue Cross and Blue Shield. We look at claims to premium loss ratio, I should say Highmark does, in establishing your renewal rates. For each of the last 2 years, the claims paid for the 12-month experience period have exceeded 100% of premium. An ideal loss ratio, as we call it, would be in the neighborhood of 85%. So utilization of the plan by the plan participants, that would be employees and dependents covered under the health insurance program. Claims paid has exceeded or have exceeded the premiums actually collected each of the last 2 years. We asked Highmark to update claims experience a little bit beyond the experience period, and when they had done that, the updated claims experience actually had worsened by an additional 16%. So claims cost actually went up higher during a more recent 12-month experience period. We were hoping actually that it would have improved. However, it did not. And there's some ongoing cases with regards to claim payments and some relatively significant cases. Obviously can't share that information, and we do not see that information since it's the city of Vienna is less than 100 employees. The original renewal from Highmark started out at a 9% increase. What I can tell you is inflation trend this year, especially with COVID, has been close to 10% for most all the carriers that we work with, meaning that what was interesting, and you probably could expect this if I were last year at this time when COVID first started, we obviously had no idea where that was going. But claims experience actually went down for a while. And if you think about it, the rationale behind that was people could not get services done. They couldn't get in to get elective services if a lot of folks had to delay treatments, whatever that treatment might have been. And so we saw actually claims experience come down across our book of business, the 300 so employers that we work with. And then when things opened back up somewhat, claims experience ramped back up. And then obviously with some of the significance of COVID claims, we've seen quite a few of them. It wasn't unusual for one COVID case to be $250,000 to $300,000 in claims costs associated with that condition. So we're now seeing a rise in COVID claims overall, and that's obviously influenced health insurance premiums this year as we're looking forward. So what happened is we go to the marketplace each year and do our best to find best value. I'll talk about that here in just a moment. But when we went back to Highmark on actually 3 different occasions, the original renewal, as I mentioned, started at a 9% increase. We were able to get Highmark, and Highmark worked very well with us in this process. I shouldn't say we were able to. They worked hand in hand with us to try to reduce the renewal. The original renewal came down to a 7% increase, and then the final renewal, and this is, I believe to be quite honestly, a very good renewal based on the claims experience and what we're seeing with the amount of claims cost as compared to premium, to be a 5% increase for this year. Speaking to that, if everything would have been normal with inflation trends, we would have seen closer to that 10%. And it's not unusual, from a renewal perspective, with our January renewals, we saw a lot of double-digit increases just because of the ramp up in COVID claims and what have you. So I know we don't like to have rate increases. We unfortunately expect some rate increase each year with claims costs, but a 5% increase given the statistics for City of Vienna and also with some of the ongoing conditions, claim costs that we're aware of. The 5% renewal is the best that Highmark can offer, and actually comes back as you'll see here in just a moment, what we would consider to be the most competitive of the carriers that we looked at. So I'm going to keep going for a moment, and please ask questions as we go through this. Be happy to do my best to answer those. As I mentioned, COVID claims had affected all of our group renewals. Item number 5, under 2A, number 5, Highmark actually did something that's pretty unprecedented with insurance companies. They actually gave a premium holiday in the month of December. because the claims cost had come down during the summertime when people couldn't actually get services rendered. So the premium was not charged to any of their fully insured plans for the month of December. And we had some other carriers do something similar but did not give a full month credit. The loss ratio that I mentioned, the claims to premium, however, assumed that 12th month was paid. So it wasn't based on a reduced amount of premium. It assumes, gee, City of Vienna paid a full 12 months, even though you got the premium holiday, and did not have to pay that premium. So that 5% is not just making up for the month, because that was taken into consideration when Highmark did the renewal calculation. Questions on that so far? Okay. The underwriting process, if we look at 2B, for those in the audience, I'll try to straighten this out a little bit. So underwriting process, in a 51 to 99 employee market, employees are asked to fill out confidential questionnaires online. Those are then submitted out by our firm to the various insurance carriers to review risks associated with the group. And then the underwriters for the insurance carriers will assess the risk. They'll determine whether or not, based on what they believe to be anticipated costs going forward, whether or not they are comfortable with providing a premium to be competitive in the market. We had 2 carriers, your incumbent, Highmark, Blue Cross and Blue Shield, and then the health plan, which is another West Virginia-based insurance company that actually we do a lot of work with both of those carriers. Those 2 provided proposals. The health plan proposal was similar with the medical benefits, but the drug benefit wasn't as competitive as what Highmark currently is offering at renewal. So when we look at the overall cost, you'll see here in just a moment the 2 component parts of your plan. Some of you may recall from previous years, but you actually have a high deductible health insurance plan. It's a $5,000 deductible. Then coordinated with that is what we call a health reimbursement arrangement, where the city actually reimburses part of the deductible back to the participant once they've met a portion of that deductible. So when we looked at both of the insurance policy and the health reimbursement arrangement, the Highmark plan actually ended up being almost exactly the same in total cost with better benefits, especially in the prescription drug area, than what health plan offered. And I'll show you that comparison here in just a moment. So the 2C number 2, carriers that we asked to quote, there were 6 total carriers. The other carriers, Aetna, Cigna, Benecon, Jefferson Health Plan, which is a consortium of plans, and United Healthcare, all declined to quote because they felt they could not be competitive with the plans that were quoted either by Highmark or by health plan. So consequently, we'll have a comparison here in just a moment on the comparison between health plan and Highmark. I'll go on through the discussion points because it'll touch on a few other things, then we'll focus on some specific proposal summaries, if we could. As I mentioned just a moment ago, under 2D, just as conceptually speaking, your health insurance plan is really composed of two parts. One is the insurance policy, that's with Highmark, Blue Cross and Blue Shield, and then the second is a health reimbursement arrangement. We often refer to it as HRA, so that it's actually then reimbursing the plan participants some of their out-of-pocket expenses. We started that all the way back in, I want to say, 2014. We first became involved, I believe, in around 2010. But we found that to be somewhat of a cost-saving measure because you're actually partially self-funding a little bit of your plan. And over time, that's actually saved the city quite a bit of money with regards to your overall cost. Item 2E, the administration of the health reimbursement arrangement, and you also have something called a flexible spending account, where employees can set aside money out of their own paycheck to put into a separate account to use against some of their other out-of-pocket expenses. Co-pays for office visits, co-pays for prescription drugs, and what have you. Highmark offered an opportunity last year that they would take on the administration of those 2 plans And that's, I think, worked out pretty well. We haven't had a whole lot, our advocacy department at the Schwindeman Agency hadn't had, Brad, I don't think we had many concerns with anybody having any issues with claims costs or claims or anything such as that. The reason I bring that up is because previously, those two plans were administered outside of Highmark, and there were separate fees for them. So we end up saving several $1,000s, I think in total about $6,000 to $7,000 last year by consolidating and coordinating that with Highmark. One of the reasons I mention that is if with the health plan, we'd have to unbundle that once again and have an outside administrator, and you'll see what that cost here is in just a moment. I'll review the plan design history with you, what's kind of happened over the years with regards to the combination of the insurance policy and the HRA, the out-of-pocket expenses to the employees, here in just a moment. I am going to go to the second page of this stapled handout and just kind of finish the summary. I'll probably refer back to this here in just a moment. If I can get it straightened out here. Okay. Dental insurance, we're in the middle of a 2-year rate guarantee with dental insurance. Last year, there was about a $9,000 savings in moving from the incumbent carrier, which was with Blue Cross, back to Delta Dental. The city had been with Delta Dental several years back. Delta Dental offered an attractive plan. The plan participants liked Delta Dental. We went back to Delta Dental, saved the money, and it was a 2-year rate guarantee. So there's not going to be any increase in premium this year for the dental. We have a spreadsheet on that in a handout as well. The total annual cost roughly for the dental plan is about $44,000. That's for all participants in the entire annual cost for that benefit. The vision plan, there's no increase as well on the vision. And that's not, comparably speaking, that's not a huge expense at $14,000. It's in the it was due to renew this year. So Davis Vision actually gave a rate pass to all of their fully insured groups, primarily due to COVID and the fact that a lot of folks couldn't get their elective procedures done or going into the optometrist during the COVID pandemic. So there was extra money left over as to what they anticipated. So they've given a rate pass for 2021. Your ancillary benefits, as we call them, the life insurance, the short-term disability, the long-term disability, and the voluntary life are all with Mutual of Omaha. On the basic life insurance, that's what the county actually provides for life insurance. There was a $0.005 cent increase on a per thousand basis. Mutual of Omaha has been extremely competitive. It actually amounts to about a $200 annual total increase on an $11,000 premium. So our recommendation was to stay with Mutual of Omaha, especially since the voluntary life was there that provides good rates for each employee. If they want to, they can buy additional life insurance on their own through payroll deduction. So summarizing, before we get into detail, the health insurance premium is going up 5% with Highmark, Blue Cross, and Blue Shield. We believe that to be a competitive increase given all factors. Your dental coverage, your vision coverage staying the same. The other ancillary benefits, including the life insurance, have a $200 increase for the year. And that's on the basic life insurance that is just actually what it is. It's everybody got a year older. So that increases the overall cost with regards to mortality rates and things like that. So let me, I've been doing a lot of talking. Let me stop for a moment before I get into detail to see if there's questions, anything that I can address before we go into a little bit of the detail.
Do you remember, Mark, what was the increase last year? Do you remember, was it 4%, 5%? Do you remember?
Good question, Councilman Elam. It was, it started at 9. Actually, let's go to that. It started at 9. You may recall, and that was at the $4,000 deductible. We went to the $5,000 deductible and went up 2.22%. But we increased the HRA somewhat. So the overall increase, I think, Councilman, was about 3 to 4%, someplace in that neighborhood last year. I can tell you over the last 6 years, I remember the number, the overall average increase in the last 6 years, and this was with a 23% increase 5 years ago, the average increase has been right around 4% per year. Most recent 4 years, absent that 23% increase, it's been slightly under 2%. We think that to be a good trend factor, given what we see with most all of our employer groups with claims costs and experience. But last year, with that change in the deductible, if you recall also, if we could, I'll just go to, I'll put this up. It's a little bit out of order, but it'll tell you the history. Does everyone have, it's a sheet that'll say at the top, it's a landscape sheet, rate and plan design history. And I'll put this up on the,
Oh, okay, yeah, there we go.
So this goes back to 2016. So what, excuse me, as I mentioned in 2014-ish, someplace in that neighborhood, the suggestion was to put in place to go to a higher deductible health plan, pay the insurance carrier less money, and then self-insure part of the deductible for the employees. So if you look across the very top, the deductible's gone from $3,250 to $4,000, remained at $4,000 for 3 years. And then, to your question, Councilman Elam, it went to $5,000 last year. The rate increase, if you come directly down the far right-hand column to about halfway down, does everyone see the 2.22%?
Yes.
The rate increase actually started at 15%. We get heavily involved in negotiating with the insurance companies to do our best to reduce the initial increases. So what we also did that year, if you come down below the 2.22%, if you think about this for just a moment, absent copays for office visits, which are $25, and copays for prescription drug, major medical expenses for in-network had a $5,000 deductible. So for example, if I would have gone into the hospital for a $25,000 claim, I would have paid the first $5,000. Then the insurance company would pick up the next 20. Of that $5,000, there is the reimbursement plan in place, which used to, the employee paid the first $250, and then the city paid the next $2,750, and then the employee paid the last $1,000. So the out-of-pocket expense to the employee in that example would have been $1,250. Last year, council made a decision to up that. And if we look at that very last column and come down to pretty much to the bottom, everyone see the $400? So today, the deductible, so to speak, for the employees is $400. City council pays the next $3,250, and then the employee pays the remaining $1,350. So the out-of-pocket cost has increased last year from the $1,250 to the $1,750. So Councilman Elam, that helped.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah,
That
thank you.
helped bring the overall cost.
And I commend you, because when you come in here and do this, this is my 5th time, but you do a very good presentation, so thank you for being so thorough, because you do a great job with this.
Thank you. Appreciate that very much. So that kind of gives some history. At the very bottom are the HRA reimbursements, what the actual city has reimbursed in that deductible that we talked about. Went to 121,000 to 162,000 to 160. Last year it actually came down for the 12 months to 134,000. Through February 2nd this year so far, it's been at 116. We anticipate, and I think we even estimated last year, that it would be right around 175,000. If you do a straight line amortization of that, you would say, well, gee, that's going to be greater than 175,000. The reason we don't think it's going to be is if you think about how your plan works, your deductibles start over on July 1. So a good portion of your folks have already satisfied their deductible, so we've seen higher HRA reimbursements during this first 7 months or so. So that'll wane down. So we anticipate that'll come in about 175,000. So good move last year to increase the deductible, take the premium savings, and to actually have a little bit higher HRA than what you had reimbursement the year before. I'm probably confusing folks. It's stapled together for you, it's not stapled for me, so there, I think it is actually, it'll say at the bottom, page 2. So we're going backwards, we just looked at page 3. This is a very busy sheet, and I'll take us through the summary of this very busy sheet to get us to kind of the focal point. So what we have on the very left-hand side of this are the categorical benefits. Your first one would be deductible, co-insurance. There's really no co-insurance. Once the deductible is satisfied for major medical claims, the plan pays at 100%. We have office visit co-pays. Telemedicine really ramped up this year, because if you think about it, people could not make office visits. They had a lot of discussions with their primary care physician, perhaps their specialist by phone or by FaceTime or something like that. Had a $10 copay. Primary care office visit and specialty care office visit have a $25 copay. And then preventive care is no cost share, as long as everything's coded preventive. Well women exams each year, physical exams are all covered with no cost share. The hospital services are 0% after the deductible. Urgent care has a $40 copay. Emergency room $150. And then your prescription drug benefit is a 30% benefit or $10 copay, whichever is greater. And you have an excellent mail order drug benefit of $20 copay, which has really been a nice benefit for the plan participants. Good number of people use the mail order drug. First column will show what the premium rates were currently. Well, I shouldn't say were, what they are currently. And then you'll see right next to that, same benefit design, except as everyone see in kind of in the middle of that, towards the top, about a quarter of the way down, the highlighted in yellow. The Affordable Care Act has a requirement that the out-of-pocket expense to a participant can't be any more for medical and prescription combined than $8,550 this coming year. That gets indexed upwards each year a little bit. So that's the only real change in the plan. And then 3/4 of the way down the page, you'll see the 5%, which indicates what the increase is. The effect of that increase in total premium is $66,000 from this year. That's assuming, by the way, that your contract counts stay the same. The number of employees covered, they don't change from single to family, what have you. If you'll notice on the left-hand side, does everyone see, it's about 3/4 of the way down the page where it says rates. And then right beside that, or right underneath that, you'll see EE only, ES, EE plus one child, EE plus one plus children and family. Those numbers right beside that were the snapshot of how many of your employees have elected that tier of coverage. So we have 24 single, 17 employee spouse, 7 employee, 1 child, 5 employee children, and 20 family. And then next to that, you'll see the monthly rates associated with those costs. Total annual premium based on this contract counts $1,333,000, going to $1,400,000 at renewal with the 5% increase, and that's where the $66,000 differential comes into play. I'm going to take us on down that page from the $66,000. The next row, if you come to the left, it says West Banco HRA fees, $6.50 per employee per month. If City of Vienna was to move away from Highmark, we'd have to have a separate administrator for your HRA once again. That creates a little bit of issue because the employee would actually have to submit that themselves to get that reimbursement. Whereas right now we call it auto adjudicated or auto processed. So if I would have a claim and I have a deductible and I'm due some reimbursement, Highmark does that behind the scenes. So I wouldn't have to submit to Highmark my paperwork to get a reimbursement. That's been a huge benefit for the plan participants. So those fees, if we go across that row all the way to the right-hand side is the health plan benefit. You see a lot of yellow in the prescription drug benefit, which just essentially states that it's a lesser benefit than what the current benefit plan is with Highmark. I can go through that detail if you would like, but suffice it to say it's higher copays, higher out-of-pocket for the plan participants. So if we look at the Highmark increase, the 4.55%, so slightly less in premium, but when we add in the admin fees for the HRA and then the anticipated HRA reimbursement of $175,000, it's almost a wash. And the Highmark benefits actually provide a better benefit for your plan participants. Questions on that? So let me do one more comment, and I have a habit of doing that, asking for questions and keep on talking. If we look at the very bottom line, the actual increase, assuming the $175,000 HRA with Highmark, is 4.42%, and with health plan, it's actually at 4.4%. So it's right in line with a better benefit with what we consider to be on the prescription drug for Highmark, Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Now I'll stop and ask for questions. Hearing none, let me just take about 2 more minutes, if I could, and show you on page, if we go to pages 4 and 5, we'll look at page 4 for just a moment. It's just a summary of our spreadsheet of the dental benefits. And I believe, there we go. A little hard to see, but Fine Dental Plan, Delta Dental is one of the main carriers that we look to for dental. It's one of their specialties. The county had Delta Dental several years ago, and up till about the last 2, I believe it was, and last year the decision was made to move to Delta Dental, and the premium savings was actually about $9,000, and the total annual premium is $44,000. So as a percentage, it was very significant, very significant. We're not hearing any issues with the dental plan. Matter of fact, we hear that the folks like the dental plan, so that's good news. And then on the vision plan, which is page 5, and this is the last handout, it's actually through Davis Vision. And the vision plan is a little hard to see, but think of it in terms of, for an exam, it's a $10 copay. If someone needs materials like glasses, frames, contact lenses, lenses for their glasses, which makes sense if you're going to get glasses, right? There's actually a $10 copay for that as well. The vision plan is not intended to pay for the full cost of glasses. It's to get people to go in to get their vision exam on a routine basis every year, try to see if there's any issues going on with those folks. And then if there's a need for glasses, then it pays a good portion of it. The frame allowance is $130. Obviously, that's not going to buy certain frames, but anything above that, there's a 15% discount off of that. So we haven't heard any, actually we've heard some people that like the vision plan as well. Total annual premium for the vision plan is, as you'll notice at the bottom, given our contract counts, is $14,000. And that's actually guaranteed through 6/30 of 2022. So I'll entertain questions. Thank you all very much. The Swindon Agency, unless there's questions, I didn't mean to stop you. I noticed Councilman Neely, you looked up like maybe perhaps you had one.
Oh, no, you're
Okay.
fine.
Mark, thank you very much for your time. We always appreciate your efforts. I know you've done this for many, many clients for a long, long time. And just the research and the resources that you reach out to and the help that you provide Stephanie really on a daily basis is invaluable. So thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Tink you. Thank you, Mayor.
All right.
I'm just curious, when do these contracts get signed for when would this get signed?
It ought to be signed well in advance of, it should be by April 1st. Probably April 15th would be good.
Okay.
would be good. We've taken it all the way up to a month before, but the carrier's trying to get ID cards, renew ID cards out. So I would suggest April 15th,
Okay.
towards the latest, would be good.
It's a bad day.
That's a bad day. A lot of things are due on the 15th. Thank you all very much. We
Thank you,
really
Mark.
appreciate it.
All right, we'll move on to item number 2 now. It's general fund budget revision number 4. And I apologize, I received a message from Mr. Leach. He has an emergency right now. He will not be here this evening, so he does this much better than I do, so I'm gonna do the best I can. So, I'm sorry? Oh, I'd love for you to do it, but I wasn't gonna ask you. I'd love a volunteer.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Mark.
This is general fund budget revision number 4. This is appropriating money. This is appropriating money for the matching funds for the Spartan Foundation, for the pickleball court, and I believe there was some other costs to do with playground equipment, and the total cost of that was $81,500. This is appropriating money that was in last year's budget. There was $40,000 in last year's budget as part of the project to resurface the tennis and basketball courts, along with $40,000 in this year. Bid came in at $60,000, so the Parks Director is asking for $20,000 to be put into his budget for the tennis and basketball court resurfacing, and he's asking for $20,000 for additional Christmas lights. The next $8,000 was in last year's budget. It didn't get spent due to COVID. We had put a spending freeze on at the time, and he has asked to be able to use that money in this year to purchase that dump bed. Same with, he had money appropriated for a tractor, but the tractor was repaired and is working, and he's asked for part of that funding, $5,800, to be appropriated in this year's budget for a walk-behind mower. The next item is taking the money, the $1,000 from the Vienna road race, the $3,000 that was appropriated for the Mid-Ohio Valley Work Camp, and appropriating the $4,000 to the Kids First program, which Mrs. Larkin is here this evening from the Kids First program if you have any questions. These are all being funded from a transfer from Capital Reserve, $135,300.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of general fund budget revision number 4.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve general fund budget revision number 4. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of general fund budget revision number 4, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next item this evening is a bid approval. This is it's from the general fund and is for the concrete for Public Works for the year 2021.
Yes, those bids were opened on February 12th at 9 a.m. We had 3 bidders. Hanson Ready Mix came in at $126 per cubic yard. Smith Concrete, $125 per cubic yard. And the Wells Group, $130 per cubic yard. By recommendation of the department head and budget and finance, the bid is to go to Smith Concrete, $125 per cubic yard. And this bid is for the calendar year.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the low bid from Smith Concrete in the amount of $125 per cubic yard.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the low bid of $125 a cubic yard. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. The next item this evening is a bid approval from the general fund and CDBG funds for the ADA compliant restroom in Spencer Park.
These bids were opened on February 26th at 10 a.m. We had two bidders. Graycon Construction, $164,900. Windgrove Construction, $64,282. It's the recommendation of the department head and budget and finance to go with the low bid of Windgrove Construction, $64,282.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the bid from Windgrove Construction in the amount of $64,282 for the construction of the restroom, the ADA compliant restroom in Spencer Park.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I'm just curious, and I
Excuse me, Roger, I apologize. Tom, you had your hand up.
You can go first.
Oh, no, it was a bid, you good.
That's a tremendous difference in the bids. When you get one that much lower, you just wondered. It just raises a little red flag. I'm not familiar with either company, so.
Well,
that's exactly what I was going to bring up. I mean, and you know, I've seen this happen before, but $100,000. I mean, is there any explanation? I mean, I like Wingrove's price. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just curious. Is there any reason why there is $100,000 difference?
Percentage-wise, it's more significant than that.
Yes.
I can tell you that we've used Windgrove Construction for several projects around the city. Mr. Skogstad was at the bid opening, and we did have a discussion with Mr. Windgrove, making sure that he understood that this was subject to Davis-Bacon wages. He said he was. We asked the direct question. He said, yes, he was. He was aware, and he had bid it that way. He doesn't have many employees. We asked the question. That's, you know, he'll have to fill out the forms. He'll have to attest that he is paying the correct wages, and I assume that's all we have to go on. It was a good bid. I mean, there wasn't any reason to throw
the
it
city's
out.
Oh, I don't doubt that a bit. I mean, as far as the reviewing the bid and the compliance of it, but $100,000, that just kind of blows me away a little bit.
the city's had extensive work done by Mr. Wingrove. He has done many projects in the city over the last 10 years, I would guess. 8 years, 10 years. He's a small operator. And we've also had work done, I believe, by Graycon Construction. They are also an excellent contractor. But Mr. Wingrove is fully aware of the plans and the requirements of this job. And based on his past performance in the discussion that was held, he's very capable of doing this job.
Maybe he does a lot of it himself.
And he does.
He does.
He does. And, you know, it's the restroom over in Spencer Park, which is a concrete block facility that will have handicap accessible equipment inside it. It's not a very complicated building, but, I mean, Mr. Wingrove, you know, he is a small operation, but he's done many projects for the city.
Well, it's fine.
I believe I was told it's a similar restroom that's up at the new tennis courts, and he built that.
Okay? All right. Any other discussion?
The only thing I would tell council is, if the council is going to reject a bid, it has to have a reason to reject the bid and to put on the record the lowest bid. If council has information that Mr. Wingrove or his company is not a responsible or a bidder or capable of finishing the project, now would be the time to introduce that.
No, I mean, I see no reason to reject anything, and I wouldn't question any of that at all. It just the price difference just jumped right out at me.
And I'm not saying you are, it's just, I just have to tell you, if you're gonna do it, you gotta do it in the open meeting.
And you're right, that's a separate change.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, if not, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of accepting the low bid from Windgrove Construction, please signify by raising your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The next item this evening is a bid approval for the bid from the general fund for the resurfacing of the tennis and basketball courts in Jackson Park.
These bids were opened on February 5th at 10:15. We had 2 bidders. Total Tennis Incorporated, $104,035. Vasco Sports Contractors, $60,000. It's the recommendation of the department head and budget and finance to go with the low bid of Vasco Sports Contractors, $60,000.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the low bid from Vasco Sports Contractors in the amount of $60,000.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the low bid from Vasco Sports Contractors. Is there any discussion?
Well, this is not quite as bad. I mean, it's $44,000 difference. That's a little tighter, but
If I'm
have
not
we
mis-
used them before?
Yes, they're the ones that originally did the
Built the
resurfacing
tennis
of the
Okay.
pool.
courts, yeah.
And this is the recommendation. Can you move it up just a little, Amy?
Move it up. Just
This is the information they gave us as customers that they've done work for. You'll see Ohio State there on the bottom, Michigan's in the middle. I mean, they do a lot of work with big facilities, so.
I'd rather see somebody beside Ohio State than go.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I'm with you, Tom. So,
Go ahead.
Is there any further
I'll throw
discussion?
this away.
get Ohio State. Can I withdraw my no, I'm just kidding.
I'll call for the question. And all those in favor of accepting the low bid from Vasco Sports Contractors in the amount of $60,000, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item number 6 is a bid approval from the general fund for the 13-person cross fitness rig for use in Jackson Park.
upside down. Sorry. Try to get a picture of it there. These bids were opened on February 5th at 10:30 a.m. with the following results. Davis Athletics was the lone bidder, $23,245. It's the recommendation of the department head and budget and finance to go with the bid of Davis Athletics, $23,245.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the bid from Davis Athletics in the amount of $23,245.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the bid from Davis Athletics. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the bid from Davis Athletics in the amount of $23,245, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item number 7 is a bid approval from the general fund for Christmas light displays.
These bids were opened on February 5th at 10:45 a.m. with the following result. Riley's Outdoor Decor, $37,032. This was the only bid. It's the recommendation of the department head and budget and finance to go with the bid from Riley's Outdoor Decor, $37,032.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the bid from Riley's Outdoor in the amount of $37,032 for Christmas light displays.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the bid from Riley Outdoors for $37,032. Is there any discussion?
Are these for the park display or the street display or both? I can't remember.
From 28th Street, Amy, you want to go through that?
I'm actually
Okay, then
not exactly
from the,
sure.
it's for the displays from 28th Street down all the way past the mall.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, the lower
I
end.
remember that now. I apologize.
Yes.
Yes.
And we're
Okay.
getting different, we're taking the angels down, we're putting something new, aren't we, as far as
We
the?
don't have any displays at all down through there, Mike. It's,
Okay,
you know, it was kind of odd that our commercial district, you know, doesn't have holiday lighting, but,
yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
okay. So that's, all right. Any further discussion? I'll call for the question. And all those in favor of the bid from Riley's Outdoors for $37,032, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. All right, that brings us to item number 8, which is a discussion on the 2021 budget for the general fund and capital expenditure request. Amy has presented to you all a budget that has everything in it that was put in. Would you like to just take that?
Would you like for me to adjust?
Yeah, I would like you to do that.
So I sent you all 2 different budgets. One, the first budget had in it longevity only for all of the employees. It did already include the $2 pay raise that you voted on the last meeting, and it did include the 5% Blue Cross Blue Shield rate increase. And that budget was off $371,558. The other budget included an additional 65 cents in addition to longevity for all full-time employees except police, which increased the budget an additional $64,368. I also gave you a capital expenditure form where one of our department heads took out a few things. He pulled a few things from the budget that he was no longer requesting. I also went through and put financing amounts on other items, just to give you some options.
Tom, yes, sir?
On the first page I was just curious why the fire protection fee was decreased $50,000. Is that your projection?
Yes, last year I was given that number by the county, and they have had actually a very high rate of non-payment on the county fire fee. And so we are not going to meet that budget amount this year. And so upon that advice, I have lowered that amount.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You know, there's a lot, I mean, there's a few ways to get to a balanced budget, and we can reduce the amount of paving if you'd like. I don't know if anybody wants my suggestions or.
Don't do that.
Well, I mean, we already have 550,000 that we're going to put into paving, you know, before June 30th. Then we could turn around and put an additional $500,000, and then you'd be doing, you know, well over $1 million in paving within a, you know, 4 or 5 month time period.
Get less phone calls.
Is it have you worked it out where it's just 35-cent raise? What's that keep the budget at instead of the 65-cent?
So if it's just longevity only, with the 5% Blue Cross Blue Shield comes in at, we're off $371,558.
That's good. I commend the department heads. I think everyone, it wasn't a wish list. It was everyone asked for their basic stuff. So I commend the department heads who submitted all their stuff.
I have a question.
Sure.
So, you know, so our 2 biggest revenue line items, B&O tax and 1% sales tax. And those they haven't changed. Your projections haven't changed. Can you kind of walk me through?
Okay, so this year we will more than likely just meet those budget amounts. So it's very difficult to anticipate an increase. You have to meet your revenue projections. You have to meet your
Because like I know in the 1920 budget, for example, The 1% sales tax, I mean, I think we ended up with about $250,000 more than, you know, what was projected. Same, and I can't recall off the top of my head on B&O tax, but I believe that that was also significantly larger than what was estimated.
Probably over 100,000, but if you see, we start the budget year basically saying that we're gonna anticipate a $442,000 carryover. Okay, so you already know, you already are saying our revenues are gonna be more than our expenses by 442,000. Now, you guys can tell me to raise those estimates, but I'm telling you, we are just going to meet those budgeted amounts this year. And if you're comfortable with that, then I will raise them.
So my other question, the CARES Act money, is there a, I mean, that's just gonna go into carryover, or,
Which then will get put in capital reserve.
right?
The other thing we can do, we have a line item on the budget, and it's called contributions from other funds, and in the past, we have done it sometimes. For example, we could say, we're gonna bring in $100,000 from capital reserve, basically to use on capital projects. So you can go ahead and budget that in those revenues if you choose to do that.
Okay, so, but there's no, nobody's earmarked anything, nobody's up for,
No,
the CARES Act money.
no,
And, I mean, if we wanted to, out of that CARES Act money, if we wanted to put a stabilization fund, for example, if we wanted to take maybe, you know, well, I think we have 1.6 million, just about.
yes,
We wanted to say, hey, we're gonna take 30% of that and put in a stabilization fund, we can do that.
yes.
Amy, what have you heard, I might have missed, you guys might have talked about this, but the home rule money, have I missed that?
The home rule money.
It's 1%.
Is
The
it
sales tax, that's what you're talking about?
Yeah,
Well, I mean, I have it budgeted for 3.4
Okay.
million,
okay.
yeah. Which I anticipate that we'll meet,
Mm-hmm.
but that's, you know, the biggest part of our carryover this year will be CARES Act money.
Question, Tom?
Yeah, on the senior citizens, is there money in there for the assistant that,
Yes, an assistant at 29 hours per week at $11 an hour.
oh, okay, I should have known that, excuse me.
So another question, and you probably don't have the answer to this, but I think it's part of the discussion
Sure.
in one way. So what Congress just passed and the President just signed today, so Vienna's anticipating, you know, 2.67 million.
I mean, that's what I've heard, yeah. You know,
We're hoping, right?
that's what I've heard, yeah.
So, I mean, that's, significantly, if that happens, and I don't know, would you just put it as a, like how you've handled the CARES Act money, a general, like a line item in the general fund until we can encumber those funds or come up with a plan of what we want to do?
Yeah, I mean, quite honestly, I think it's going to work differently than it worked for the CARES Act money. The CARES Act money was a reimbursement type of, right, I turned in all the bills, they sent us money. I think this is gonna be more, and maybe the mayor can speak to this more than I can. I think this is gonna be more of a, you know, you come up with projects and, I think it's infrastructure. We may be able to replace some of our revenues that we lost. What, Mayor, do you have
Well,
any
the
insight
CARES Act
on
money that we have now, we worked through the state auditor's office and submitted our receipts and were reimbursed for them. This is coming right from the federal government. And so based on that, whatever the guidelines are on how you can spend it, what projects you can do, will determine where that money can go.
I mean, it'll be federal money, so it would need to go in a grant revenue account.
Yes.
That's where they'd look for it, if they came in and,
I think what we're saying is you're waiting for the money to come in
I
and then
don't,
waiting to see what regulations there are going to come with it before she puts it in the budget as anything other than a line item for.
Yes, because I don't know any more than, you
Right.
know.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, I know it's new and.
Yes.
And we don't all know what the stipulations are gonna be, but it's,
No, we have, Tony Tiano actually called, the state and asked for some clarification, and they don't know anything at this point, so.
the good news is it comes directly to the city and bypasses the state. I believe that's the way it's gonna work.
I think that's how it's gonna, that's
Might
the
get
way
it.
I understand, anyway.
And your grandchildren will get to pay it back.
Yeah.
One item that I've asked Amy to calculate is an increase in the incentive plan for the fire department. We rewarded the police department, and so I've asked Amy to calculate. We contribute $1,200 for the fire department for their incentive plan.
15, Mayor.
15, yes, I'm sorry, 15. And I've asked to have calculated in to add $300 to that to make it $1,800. It would increase the budget about $9,000 for the year. So not a huge increase, but, you know, $1,800 a month for our volunteers, I think is
It's
a,
not a month. I don't believe.
Yeah, it, like I said, it is 15, and I believe the last increase was in 2013. So it's been several years since there's been any increase in the ICP funds.
and our first responders, no matter whether it's the fire department or the police department, are extremely valuable to the city.
Well, they're critical.
Yes, okay. So anyway, that number is not in there yet.
No, it is in there.
It is in there, all
Yes,
right,
it
thank
is
you.
in there.
So, the last time, we talked about, for the senior center,
Yes,
I believe there was a discussion about a Toyota that we were gonna find out the value of that and sell it and maybe possibly set up, the difference into a fund so that, we were able to purchase a SUV.
So that's
for that.
not necessary, that's been taken care of. We had a very nice Honda minivan, that was one of our fleet vehicles. And so, Linda will now drive the Honda minivan, and she's very happy because the seats come out of it, and she can put all of her gear in the back end, and so,
Oh,
we do not have to purchase any additional vehicles. And the auction is about to take place
Monday.
for all the surplus vehicles we have now, unless we can find a use for that Toyota Camry, then it will be on the next auction, because there's no point in leaving it sit over there in the parking lot.
So you weren't able to, get I know you said you would talk to a dealership and get an idea of the value of that Toyota.
I didn't, once I got Linda the vehicle that she wanted, I didn't go any
So-
farther because I fixed that problem.
Okay, I guess I didn't realize we had a minivan in our fleet.
Yes, we do,
It was
and
part of the auction
it's been checked out
items.
by our Public Works garage,
I'm
and
sorry.
it's an excellent vehicle.
It was part of our auction items.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions for Amy this evening?
I've got some general comments
Okay.
as it relates to the budget and the budget proposals. And, you know, Amy, I think I sent you just an FYI kind of thing, where I talked about wanting perhaps $850,000 put into the street repair. We don't want to get too far behind on our street repair, so I think that your explanation there of $500,000 and then the additional new $500,000 for the upcoming budget year gives me a little bit more of a warm fuzzy feeling about what we're going to do and the amount of money we're going to be able to put into the street. So I appreciate that information. Secondly, I've really been thinking about, one of the requests from one of our departments, and that's the IT department as it relates to these cameras. I'm looking into that a little further. I'm not comfortable, with where we are with these cameras and the camera, the money for the cameras request. I'm not saying they're not important, but I think there's some things that probably should have been done that hasn't been done. We've been trying to work with Chris, because I would like to see a list of where those 50 cameras are that don't work. And then I'd like to see if you take that list and prioritize, if you would, what he believes to be the priority cameras for replacement. So we're gonna have to be doing that real quick.
Yes.
So I'm trying to get some more information about that. And lastly, I want to speak a little bit about our outside agencies. And our outside agencies all gave really good presentations. And I'm overall pleased with what we're doing with our outside agencies. I mean, I'm very pleased with what we're doing with the Kids First program and some of the other things, but I have a couple that I'm a little bit concerned about. One is the health department, who's asking for a 25% increase. Originally, I was opposed to that. I potentially could maybe have my opinion changed on that, but I'm not sure. I want to put some more consideration in that. Originally, my thought was, well, we're not going to give our own departments more than likely 25% increases. And I know they are under a tremendous amount of stress and workload right now. So, maybe that would help with their situation, but, I'm just not sure that a 25%.
I do know they asked the city of Parkersburg also for 25%.
Yes, that is correct. So it's something we might think about. And lastly, I want to talk about the Humane Society. And they do good things, and they do good work, but I don't feel a budget of $31,000 from the city of Vienna. I don't think we're getting $31,000 worth of service from them. I just don't. And I would like to see that reduced, possibly even up to $10,000. I mean, the intake at the Humane Society from Vienna, I think, is around 6%, something like that. And, what are we getting for that? I mean, what are we getting? They don't come out. And to me, from what I hear from folks, that's the biggest issue. Anybody, we have ordinances. We don't have a dog warden right now, or an animal warden, excuse me. But I've been asked many times why the Humane Society will not come out on an animal call. Most of them, I believe, get referred to the police department. Well, the police department's got a lot better things to do than, chase a dog or a cat. I'm just not comfortable that we're getting $31,000 worth of service from the Humane Society. So those are some things I'm thinking about, and I just wanted to throw those out for council to maybe kind of put in your head and see what your thought processes are on that.
So Roger, I'd like to just make a comment on two of those if I could. The health department, I know it sounds like a 25% rate increase is, huge, but really that's only $300 a quarter. And, when you look at the services that we get They do the flu shots for all of the employees. They do a lot of things. And a $300 increase for a whole quarter is a fairly insignificant amount of money. You know, the 25% to us is $1,200 over a year. So I'd like you to consider that in your thought process on that one, because, you know, $300 for a quarter is not a lot of money.
Well, like I said there earlier, you know, I mean, I certainly, the more I got to thinking about that one, that, you know, my mind could be changed pretty easy on that one.
Well,
So I will,
I
Randy.
mean, I don't know if you've ever noticed that building they operate out of. I mean, that thing had to have been built in the 19. I mean, it's old and.
Spent a lot of time in that building.
Yeah, well, but, you know, it's not like they were extravagant. But the other thing that I wanted to mention to you is, and I think that council needs to really think about this, you know, the service that the Humane Society provides for us, we do not have a dog kennel. And if we do not partner with the Humane Society, are you prepared to build a dog kennel, provide someone to maintain the thing? And, I mean, I don't think we can come even close for $31,000 to maintain the animals. Even if it's only 5, you're still gonna have to have somewhere to put them and somewhere to house them. And I just, you know, that's a concern for me, because I do not want to get into the dog kennel business.
Well, one of the things to just add to that, Mayor, I point out our ordinances, 50707, Animal Officer City Pound. The mayor shall be the animal officer of the city, and with the consent of council is authorized and directed to employ the Humane Society of Parkersburg and its officers as agents to perform the duties required as animal control officer, and then provide a suitable pound. So unless you're going to modify the ordinance, it's my opinion that if you stop, and I think you could, you know, if there were some other suitable Humane Society group, but you have to have some type of a program in place, and your options are to go with the Humane Society or to go with doing it yourself. And that's just one. We have, you know, we have directives in our ordinances directing an animal control officer that we don't have to deal with the animal issue that also need to be considered. So I think this is a deceptively, this could be a little more difficult of an issue than what you may think. And I'm just telling you that just as a reminder of what we have in our ordinances, because we periodically come up with this issue every so many years.
I didn't know that.
I'll look at that, Russ. Thank you. I'll look at that a little closer,
I'm gonna
but.
forward you an email that I wrote a couple years ago.
So you're saying if they don't come, we call Randy, is that what we do?
No, I am not saying that at all.
That's all, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, and that's just my comments, Roger, for you to think, for
Sure,
your consideration.
understand. Thank
okay?
you.
All right.
Before we move on to something else, I do have a question to go back to what Mr. Bibby said regarding the cameras. So that's a new camera system that he's thinking about putting in place where it's stored in the cloud. And so there's cloud storage associated with that. I've asked him to tell me how much that was going to run per year, and it was going to be based upon how long he was going to, like 90 days, 60 days, 30 days.
Okay.
Where would that be on here as on the line item under what?
I believe it would be in his department.
Right, but
Can I get that information for you?
Yes.
Because I don't want to say it out of turn.
absolutely, because I
yeah.
think there's going to be an ongoing cost in
Sure.
addition to the.
And I will try to pin him down on
Okay.
what that is.
And while you're pinning him down on that, will you please also, I asked that he look into what it would cost to lease these cameras versus
okay.
buying them. 'Cause technology, the moment you buy it, it's, you know, out of date. So I was interested in that as well.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'll try to get the answer to that.
Amy, I have one note on my sheet here that you and I talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I don't remember your explanation. So on line item number 322, the $100,000 for the FLAP grant match,
Oh, that was just one of the things I thought that we could do. You know, we're putting in the matching money for the FLAP grant, plus a little additional to get some things started down at Spencer's Landing. And I thought we could budget $100,000 there to bring in from capital reserve towards that project, which obviously then ups your revenues. It decreases the amount that we're off. So if you do that, you take out, you take the street paving down to $500,000, then basically you're at a balanced budget. That is if you wanted to give the employees a pay raise. If you did not want to give the employees a pay raise, you know, the $350,000 that we're taking out of street paving brings you down to only being off $21,000. So I just need some direction, I guess, as to how you want to proceed. And you don't have to tell me that tonight, but, I don't make those decisions.
Like that $100,000 for
Yes.
Spencer's Lane, whatever else, could that, we're not saying it's for that, I mean, that $100,000 could be used everywhere. You know,
Well,
my big push is to get the hill removed. I know Russ and Randy
I mean,
are
it's
helping
typically,
me
if
with
you
that.
bring it in, it should really probably be for a capital item.
Okay. All right,
But, I mean, any capital, it doesn't,
Yeah.
any capital item.
The other thing too, considering in the paving,
Uh-huh.
is the coal severance.
Yes, we do have additional money. You guys had the reconciliation of funds. What is it? Close to 60,000 right now.
Yeah, it's 57 something.
Mhm. That's also allotted for paving.
Okay.
Or street repairs.
Okay? Any other questions for Amy? Please don't hesitate to call because we need to get this fine-tuned. We have a special meeting next Thursday.
I'd like to vote because I'd like to be able to have a few days, to work on the submittal. But if you guys don't feel like you can make a decision by next Thursday, then we could put it off one more Thursday, but that's it.
Yes, it has to be submitted to the state by the 28th, I believe.
So that would be if we didn't, then it would be the 25th would be our last
Yeah,
Thursday, the 25th.
which would give me Friday to get it done and in,
No
which,
pressure.
it's fine. It's fine.
All right.
So, I'll take direction from you, what you guys want me to do with it at this point. I've given you some options to get you to a balanced budget. Just let me know.
So how does this work then? So if I called you this week and said, Amy, I've been looking at this and I would like to do these 5 things. I mean, you can't just do those 5 things, can you? Do we have to
You'd
agree on
have
those or what do
to,
we?
you'd have to vote, yeah.
You have to bring them here. and-
I can come
Okay, that's what
forward,
I'm-
I will come forward next Thursday night with the balanced budget. If you don't like it, you can change it. You can make,
okay.
you can make motions to change it.
Okay, got it.
Because I basically told you what I would do to balance it, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. So all of that will be fine tuned next week with the amendments to whatever it is that you
So, you come
to.
forward, maybe we find out more information about the cameras, and you decide, hey, I don't want that in there, then we'll take it out, and we'll put it somewhere else.
And I do want to remind you all, and we have this discussion all the time, it is a balanced
It is
budget.
a balanced budget.
So if you put something in it, you have to take something out of it.
Or
If you take something out of it, then what are you going to do? Because it has to match.
Right, so if you say, hey, I don't want the $50,000 to go to cameras, you need to say where it's going. For example, I'd like to add $50,000 to additional street paving, just an example.
Yeah, it has to balance. It's,
Or to capital reserve, or to.
Offset, something else, but it
Okay.
has to,
all right.
you have to have another side of it.
All right. We'll get her done, Amy.
Yep.
Thank you. The last item on our agenda this evening is an ordinance on first reading. Mr. Skogstad, if you'll read that ordinance, please.
This is an ordinance codifying the process for the appointment and approval of council liaisons to the City of Vienna, Police Department, Fire Department, Public Works, Finance Department, and the Vienna Senior Center. Council liaison serves as a communication link between between Vienna City Council and each of the major departments, each of which are necessary to perform the major functions of the city, which can benefit from direct individual interaction with council. City Council liaisons should facilitate a good working relationship between the department they serve and council. Therefore, be it ordained by the Common Council of the City of Vienna that it does hereby adopt the following rules governing City Council liaisons. A, there shall be 2 public safety liaisons, 1 liaison assigned to the Vienna Police Department, 1 liaison assigned to the Vienna Fire Department. B, there shall be 1 Public Works liaison assigned to the Department of Public Works. C, there shall be 1 liaison to the Senior Center. D, there shall be 1 liaison to the Finance Department. All liaisons shall be members of Vienna City Council. E, all liaisons shall be members of Vienna City Council. F, all liaisons shall be nominated by the mayor and confirmed by a majority of council. G, council liaisons' terms shall be concurrent to the term of office to which he or she has been elected or appointed, unless the mayor and council at the first regular meeting of each year appoint others to serve as a council liaison. H, the Planning Commission, Article 133 of the Vienna Municipal Code. The Vienna Utility Board, Article 130 of the Vienna Municipal Code. The Board of Parks and Recreation, Article 137 of the Vienna Municipal Code. And the Vienna Tree and Beautification Commission, Article 907 of the Vienna Municipal Code, are boards whose membership composition are governed independently by each of their respective ordinances, and which have an already established appointment process where at least 1 member of council serves on each board shall not have council liaisons.
I'll entertain a motion on first reading for the ordinance codifying the process for the appointment and approval of council liaisons to the City of Vienna.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded on first reading that we approve the ordinance codifying the process for the appointment and approval of council liaisons. Any discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the ordinance on first reading, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. That concludes our agenda for this evening. Council comments, please.
So I just want to thank Randy Rapp and Russ for helping we're trying to get some stuff done at the Hill, so I thank you for your working on the legal side of it, and
I want to talk to you about that after.
oh, all right. All right,
Hey,
so
I gave him pictures, Russ.
I know.
He's got pictures now.
Strike that comment if it's a no-go.
Put it on hold.
But thank you, Randy and Russ, for working with me on this. How they go?
I would like to ask Brenda a question. In your comments this evening, you made reference to a large building on Rosemar Road that you'd like to see converted into a youth center. What building are you referring to?
A sports complex is what I was considering.
Yes, but where's the building?
The building is located across from, it actually was a distribution center is what it was. And it's across from Rosemar Meadows.
Okay,
Now, you know where I'm talking about?
I do.
Yes, that to me was the whole purpose of bringing it up, and like I said, maybe to be considered, you know, even if it's an MOB, where that you draw all of the communities together, you know, to do something like that, so.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Any other council comments? Meeting adjourned.